All right, hopefully you guys can hear me now. I was muted for a little bit. Hello, ITS Georgia members and guests. Just want to make sure I'm getting a thumbs up that I can be heard. Welcome to our second monthly meeting of 2021. We're going to be discussing Smart Columbus with Jeff Kupko. And we have not had an in-person meeting since our February 26, 2020 meeting on Georgia Tech's campus. So we're hitting that 1 year mark. Virtual meetings are going to take place for the next 2 more months. Just want to throw that out there. So both March and April. ITS Georgia Board has, decided that we'll continue that. We'll also be reporting back to you for the May meeting as it gets a little bit closer. So just keep your ears open up for that. But one day we're going to get to see each other in person again. As far as looking ahead, we're planning for a fantastic 2021 and continue to work together to make decisions regarding our future meetings. We want to thank you for providing us all with grace as we move through this world that we're now living in. We have a lot of exciting things that are being planned, and we'll keep you informed through our many different media platforms. If any of you have any input or would like to get more involved with volunteering your time, please reach out to us. Reach out to me, reach out to any of the other board members, or even reach out through our website. We can use definitely all the help we can get to make this a successful 2021. As for a look ahead, our next meeting will be on March 24th and will also be full virtual. So just going to remind you of that with a discussion on connected vehicles and going to the next level. Our April is also going to be full virtual, and we're going to hear about MARTA's transit plan. So please tune in for both of those. Our May meeting, we're looking to maybe hear from our local universities here and get an update from them. So be on the lookout for that. We'll keep you updated as to whether or not that's virtual or in person, or in person, I guess. And then also as a reminder, mark your calendars for September 19th to the 21st for a trip down to Savannah, Georgia to our annual meeting. We have a theme of on the road again. And I want to give another shout out, as always, to Ty Alexander with AECOM for leading the efforts in planning our 2021 annual meeting this year. He has a lot of great people that's helping him navigate through that meeting. So again, if you want to volunteer for any of this, just do not hesitate to reach out. I want to continue to show my appreciation for our ITS Georgia board and volunteers for guiding our organization through these times. There have been many subcommittees formed with many meetings throughout the month to discuss many different items. This is all volunteer time, and I just want to thank the individual board members as well as the companies, organizations they work for. It has been truly a team effort to get through 2020 and us continuing our efforts now in 2021. And finally, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today to our second meeting of 2021 to hear about the Smart Columbus program. But before we begin the technical side of the program, I want to present this month's sponsor, as we cannot keep these monthly meetings and our organization goals going without you. A big thank you to Cassie with Cisco for your continued support with ITS Georgia. We look forward to hearing about you and your company. Cassie, take it away.
Thanks so much, Winter. As Winter said, my name is Cassie McEnroe. I'm the Cisco account executive here for the state of Georgia. And I think, when most people think of Cisco, you probably think of routing, switching, maybe wireless, maybe security, maybe servers, maybe voice and video. But what I want to talk to you guys today about is why Cisco for smart cities and roadways. So when you look at smart cities and roadways, and what Cisco is doing is we enable the collaboration of increasing mission critical voice and video data with technology. We provide Cisco the intelligent end-to-end networking that bridges the gap between what the community or roadway needs and what your network delivers. And then we also work with you, the city or county or state agency, to build for the future of public safety and keep your platform secure with our industry-leading zero trust approach. So that's where we venture into smart roadways and smart connected cities. Really quick on kind of where Cisco plays in the smart roadway side, and then I have two success stories or use cases that I want to share with you guys today. So Cisco, we connect and secure devices, data, people, and processes, And we think that we play in three kind of primary areas with connected roadways. So the first one being roadside infrastructure, so connecting devices, so signs, signals for transportation. The second one, roadside intelligence, so processing data. So really processing data, what we call edge compute, or processing data at the edge, where we securely filter out kind of, low latency messages so that we can take action. And then the third one is management and operations. So where we provide traffic operators can access management centers securely and remotely. So just looking at two success stories or two case studies with Cisco. So our first one being the city of Las Vegas. We did this, this was set up and it's continuously ongoing, growing, what we can actually do with IoT sensors to manage traffic and environmental issues. But this was set up in 2018, right before CES. So the city of Las Vegas, they chose Cisco for its Smart City initiative because they already had a Cisco network, and they wanted to leverage our platform and our open data architecture to allow for third-party developed applications. So what they're doing is they have their connected vehicles on the roads that send current road conditions. The data is processed quickly at the edge for actionable insight, and then traffic systems and driver alerts are deployed to improve safety. So they've been able to use this for environmental issues, such as they also have it spun up where if trash cans are overflowing, they can provide an actionable alert or actionable insight to go over and empty out trash cans. Or if there is a car idling at a traffic light at 1 a.m. in the morning, they can look at the environment and say, okay, it doesn't need to be just sitting here idling, sending out carbon dioxide. We can go ahead and turn this light green rather than just letting a car sit there and generate exhaust. So we're continuously adding different applications to the city of Las Vegas, but I wanted to share that one example of how Cisco is kind of tackling smart roadways. And then the second one is really looking at the city of Fort Worth for smart cities or smart connected communities. So just recently, actually, this happened very quickly. With the city of Fort Worth, we're helping accelerate bandwidth, or really what we're calling tackling that digital divide. So helping tackle that divide between communities that have access to broadband or Wi-Fi and communities that don't. So we're calling it reducing the digital divide by giving internet access to low-income housing, where we create a multi-use network using a mix of public poles and towers. We're able to do this we recently acquired a company called Fluid Mesh, and this is really their sweet spot. This is what they focused on. But with the city of Fort Worth, as you can see here, the outcome, the project was defined in 15 days. So the city of Fort Worth received some CARES money. They were able to very quickly come to Cisco. We came up with a game plan with them, leveraging some of the network investments they've already made. And we were able to spin up 5 low to moderate income neighborhoods. They now have Wi-Fi access. And now this infrastructure can be leveraged by the city for multiple different community use cases, smart water, smart trash, et cetera. So it's kind of, now that it's spun up, the future is, the possibilities are endless. So lastly, just to leave you with what our vision for the future is for smart roadways and connected cities, we currently have 37. We currently have projects going on in 37 different countries. So we're continuously working directly with cities, local governments, state agencies to help provide, secure, high-speed bandwidth access, like I just talked about for the city of Fort Worth. We are powering return to work and in-person schooling with a secure and robust network and communication offerings. Continuing to build out our connected transportation solutions, including roadways and transit and intercity rail, and then supporting city services such as smart water, smart lighting, smart parking, smart waste, using all of these with open standards-based technology, and then providing reliable communication technologies for things such as FirstNet. So FirstNet uses Cisco as their infrastructure for, to provide that emergency critical network for our first responders. And then all of this wrapped around a industry-leading, zero trust security architecture. So that was all I had today. If any of this sounds interesting or you'd like to hear more, please reach out to myself or Clark. Clark is my technical counterpart, and we'd love to sit down and talk with you more about how we could do something innovative and creative. Thanks, Winner.
Awesome. Thanks, Cassie. That was really good. Nice information. And it looks like you guys are doing a lot of really cool projects. So thank you for sharing that with us and sharing some of those case studies. And again, thank you for sponsoring us. So before we get started about hearing about our Smart Columbus, I would like to give a brief summary on both Smart Columbus as well as Jeff Kupko before I turn it over to him for us to take a deeper dive into hearing all about it. So to provide you with a brief summary, in June 2016, U.S. Department of Transportation announced Columbus was selected as the recipient of the $40 million Smart City Challenge grant. This grant, in combination with the Paul G. Allen grant and a private sector acceleration fund, has served as seed money to springboard an innovative initiative within Columbus. This initiative has been branded as Smart Columbus. Smart Columbus's vision is to empower our residents to live their best lives through responsive, innovative, and safe mobility solutions. And the mission is to demonstrate how an intelligent transportation system and equitable access to transportation can have positive impacts on everyday challenges faced by cities. These outcomes are outcomes that any municipality should be driving towards. In all, the city is seeking long-term outcomes that will make the city a great place to live, work, and visit. Now to present Jeff to you. He is a senior associate with Michael Baker International, 16 years of experience, and he's going to take us into this deeper discussion about Smart Columbus. He is an assistant program manager in Michael Baker's emerging technology practice and leads the Smart Communities initiatives. Currently, he sits on site at Smart Columbus as a city project manager and is responsible for leading the AV Shuttle and Smart Mobility Hubs projects. He led the development of the first two self-driving shuttles in Ohio. His career has encompassed ITS, tolling, TSMO, and large event planning. He has a bachelor's degrees and master's of civil engineering from the University of Pittsburgh, is a licensed PE in 4 states, and a licensed PTO. I'm also, just as a reminder to those listening, I'm going to assist with fielding questions. So just a reminder, please type the questions in the YouTube chat and they will be sent my way so that I can ask Jeff. And with that, Jeff, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and appreciate the introduction there. Saves me from introducing myself more. So, but at least as mentioned, I do have the very fortunate opportunity where I get to sit on site at Smart Columbus and acting as a city project manager, helping deliver this high profile and really just awesome grant. But however, I need to get started on one clarification. I was told to make it clear that we knew which Columbus we were talking about in my presentation. So specifically for all of you Atlanta United fans, I'm from this Columbus, the 2020 MLS Cup champions, Columbus, Ohio, and not the Columbus in Georgia. So with that out of the way, I will go ahead and continue with the rest of the presentation. In 2016, the city of Columbus was awarded the $40 million US DOT Smart City Challenge that birthed the Smart Columbus program. There is also a $10 million Paul G. Allen grant that came along with it that was largely focused on electrification. I'm not really going to focus on that today, just mostly going to focus on the US DOT grant. With the mission being to demonstrate how intelligent transportation system and equitable access to the transportation can really have those positive impacts on the community and the everyday challenges. High level overview, our whole portfolio of the 8 projects, the backbone being our operating system. So it's kind of like an integrated data exchange. It does perform some more functions like that. It does some analytics as well. Under enabling technologies, we do have our connected vehicle environment, enhanced human services, really focusing on the people and how we can improve that mobility for them. So a multimodal trip planning app, smart mobility hubs, mobility assistance for people with cognitive disabilities, prenatal trip assistance and event parking management. And then also we try to look ahead at the things that are on the horizon as well, those emerging technologies. So that's where our connected electric autonomous vehicles project fits in. And I'll go through in detail each one of these projects moving forward here. So as I mentioned, the data being very, very critical to any smart city, and so the operating system serving as that backbone. Really the vision for this sets up supporting not only our projects, but also the citizens and the data that exists. So it does house data from across our community, like food pantry services, for instance. So that would take it beyond just what we're using it to analyze our projects. So it was designed and built to collect data from those variety of inputs, including the public and the private, education, and nonprofits as well. And they could come from people or just from other systems. And then thinking about it on a user end. So it's also been developed so that base level users, as well as experienced level programmers, can use the system to analyze data. They can find ways to solve problems or answer questions that they may have about the community. And it's also scalable as well. So, as we add more data sources, we're able to build that up. The first project I want to go ahead and talk about, of the physical projects and not the backbone projects, I should say, is our connected vehicle environment. So our primary focus for this was our Linden neighborhood. Linden was a focal point of the grant. It is one of the key opportunity neighborhoods in our city. It also had one of 3 main corridors that had high crash rates within the city. You can see in the green lines there, we have High Street to the left. That largely runs along Lake Ohio State's campus as well as a couple other up and coming shopping areas. The Cleveland Avenue corridor is the one to the right going up and down. That is the one that goes through the heart of Linden. And then the east-west route on top is Morse Road. So that road typically provides a lot of access to jobs and other services, particularly in the Easton area, which is to the far right of Morse Road, shown there on the graphic. Our goal for onboard units of the connected vehicle environment is to get 1,000 to 1,100 onboard units deployed within the city. You can see that 300 to 400 of those private vehicles, and I think we just surpassed that number. So we've actually hit that number, and we're really close to our overall goal. We have a few that we're looking to finalize. Some of them being just the fleet vehicles and emergency vehicles, as those are pulled off of service to take into a garage and install them. This program also outfitted the entire COTA transit bus fleet. So you can see 325 buses there will be connected vehicles. So transmitting the basic safety message, and then focusing on evaluating transit signal priority in coordination with the existing system that has already been deployed to see how it performs, and that can open up some opportunities to scale our bus rapid transit to other areas of the city. Don't want to spend too much time on here, but this is largely the list of applications. We had the 8 use cases to correspond to these applications shown, and really wanted to improve vehicle operator safety, improve intersection safety, reduce speeds in our school zones, improve the reliability of transit vehicle schedule adherence, improve our emergency response times, reduce truck wait delay time at signalized intersection. We want to improve traffic management capability and also the transit management capability. Bunch of pictures of the different system components that we deployed through here between the roadside units and the onboard units. We did choose a heads-up display for the participants in the program. Should note that not all participants, like for instance the transit buses, if you will, don't have heads-up displays. That is all just an onboard unit running in the background as far as the operator of the bus is concerned. The heads-up display is largely focused on the private driver. And all of this goes into the back-end management system at the Traffic Management Center as well. Here you can see a picture of the HMI that was installed in the vehicle. Certainly one of the more important aspects of our connected vehicle environment, and that's because it's the primary means of interacting with the user and providing those alerts. We did go through a lengthy process to design those heads-up display icons. We went through some human factors initiatives as well, really to make sure that they were quickly readable and they made sense. We also go through a training program with all our participants to go over them, but they obviously do need to be read and interpreted in a quick manner for a user to react to them. Next up is our multimodal trip planning application. So the vision that we set out was to really make transportation not only on demand, but also multimodal, and really trying to incentivize or encourage.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you went out, Jeff. Let's give him a few minutes, see if he can get back on. Did we lose you for sure? Yeah. Is there any way for you to call in? I am hearing some noise, background noise.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, Jeff.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you now. Perfect.
For some reason, my
Thank
phone just hung up, and then I was sitting there waiting. So I'm admitted and I'm back. Glad you can hear me. I apologize for that. I don't know why the phone just disconnected. So, all right, back to this. So our vision, again, trying to encourage that shift away from personally owned vehicles, and trying to connect both private and public mobility providers, and all that just really coming together in one application where you can, plan that trip across multiple modes. And so we set out, developed the application, and got many participating mobility providers. So we do have ride hailing in here. So Uber, Lyft, and Yellow Cab are all a part of the program. And then also, beyond CODA being our transit system. And you can see to the right of CODA, the logo there is CABS, which is the campus area bus system. So that's Ohio State's bus system. So we do have traditional transit, and then adding on our bike share, as well as scooter companies and carpooling as well, all contained within the application. And should mention that it is called Pivot, and it is available in both the App Store and Google Play. So what makes this different? It's really that aggregation of data from both public and private transportation, and providing those multiple modes in the single trip. A lot of times when you do, a trip plan, you could say, I choose to do just bike, or I choose to walk. This is providing you varying levels of interaction between all of those modes to plan the trip that best suits you. And the other key critical aspect of it, I think, is that it is open source platform. So other cities can take base code and adapt it to their own needs. Couple screenshots here. We have some familiar features in it, such as you can find nearby ride options. So what's the closest scooter to me, or the bike share to me. But as you can see, there's a trip itinerary on the screen there where you could grab your bike share, and then you ride to a certain point, wait a few minutes, connect on that bus, get off the bus, and the last mile or so of your trip is scooter based. And then it gives you, costs and everything about that. So the data flow, it is also built on blockchain Hyperledger to record those trip plans and trip history. And it really is created, comparing the past and the current, and also the predicted traffic using INRIX from ODOT, the INRIX data. And ultimately, we make these trips better over time by using machine learning in the back end to really give those better trip options the more and more the application is used. All right, next up, smart mobility hubs. So the current system in Columbus, really, there's a backbone of a fixed route bus service across the city. We do not have rail service. And at the very beginning of our grant process, there was a transit system redesign. And through that, there was bus rapid transit deployed on the Cleveland Avenue corridor. And Wi-Fi was provided on all of these buses and at all of the transit facilities. And some new park and ride facilities were designed. And so really, what did that mean is we were getting those building blocks in place for setting up for future transportation, something like mobility as a service or mobility on demand. The one issue being that other mobility providers are deploying independently. So the opportunities to close some of these gaps could be, optimizing those trips for ride sharing or other microtransit, and trying to eliminate all of the different modes of transportation operating in their own silos, and trying to address how we can get unbanked users to participate or users without smartphones to be able to take those first mile and last mile travel options. And finally, just trying to increase safety and security at the facilities in any way we can. So these were our tasks that we took at hand. And we looked at, again, the Linden area being our key focal point on how we could support that CMAX bus rapid transit line and try to bridge that first mile, last mile gap with these different modes of transportation. Ultimately, getting that community better access to jobs and services in the different areas of the city. They could go downtown, but the other aspect, as I mentioned, the Easton area as well, significant jobs are available there. So trying to get that last mile link there. Some of our partners here, we had some property stakeholders. So CODA, the transit agency, had 3 of our smart mobility hubs. The other 3 are St. Stephen's Community House, which was it's really a community anchor that provides a lot of different community services. The Columbus Metropolitan Library, our Linden branch, and then Columbus State, which is a large 2-year degree college within the city. And the interesting thing there is most of its students leave with a degree and no debt. So it's a way of providing education to a vast majority of the community. We anchored each of these smart mobility hubs with a kiosk, and the kiosk contract holder in the city was Experience Columbus, who is our tourism agency. And they had contracted with Ike Smart City, which is a subsidiary of Orange Barrel Media, to deliver this project. So we partnered with them to be able to deploy these kiosks. And then the participating mobility providers, again, you'll see Bike Share. We had 3 scooter companies, Lime, Spin, and Link, as well as Yellow Cab providing ride hail. A couple pictures here. You can see upper left, we provided a dockless device parking area. The pavement marking you see there on the ground, there's scooters parked there. You could also park dockless bikes. At the bottom, you can see this is at the library location. We have bike share on one side of the building to facilitate some of those trips. In the middle is just a mock-up of a sign. We branded and delineated each of the mobility hubs with the modes that were available. So we came up with some quick icons for users to be able to see what services were available. And then on the far right is a kiosk that is provided by Ike Smart City. You can see the CODA system map is on there, and the multimodal trip planning app pivot that I talked about previously is also available on these kiosks through our whole efforts. Next project, mobility assistance for people with cognitive disabilities. Really, a goal of this project was to better support individuals with cognitive disabilities, to give them a bit more independence. I know we have a lot of bullets on the screen there that summarize it, but it really is is a goal of independence, that trying to reduce reliability on private shuttling or paratransit, and a way to use an application and use public transit to reduce times waiting for those vehicles and the ability to go new places. So we procured an application. It's called Wayfinder, and really it has a way to personalize each route that you would want someone to take. You can see some screenshots here, and not only are you creating the route itself, but you can create the directions on it. They can be written. They can also be audio recorded. You can show images so that somebody could quickly look at the screen and say, yes, that's what's on the picture. And then the directions tell me stop and wait for this bus. Or another aspect that we've seen used in it is like stop and wait for the walk sign when crossing a roadway. It's also supported on the back end by a tracking system. So our participants in this program typically had travel partners. And this gives a little bit more independence there, in that these travel partners can watch remotely. And there's a way to interact, like the app, you can click call me and it'll call that person right away. But it's a way to monitor and make sure somebody's on their route while they are traveling independently. Prenatal trip assistance. So this project was largely developed out of the fact that the city of Columbus and Franklin County has an infant mortality rate that's 4 times the national average. And it was a recognition that transportation could play a role in that, that expectant mothers maybe aren't getting to prenatal appointments and regular doctor's visits because transportation is an issue. So we really wanted to develop a way to facilitate non-emergency medical transportation through advanced technology, and developing that customer satisfaction, reducing the stress of a mother-to-be to really have a healthy baby and get to the appointments that are necessary for that. So the problem that we had was really the communication challenges between all parties. So that could be the Medicare providers, or your doctor's offices, or your transportation providers. A lot of times rides might arrive late or just show up and leave right away. And a big challenge was having no car seats in different vehicle types, like the taxis may not have car seats that were giving existing transportation. And so at that point, then a woman just becomes frustrated and doesn't go through all this hassle, and no longer goes to doctor's visits. So that was really the problem we were looking to address. So we developed a program really focusing on pregnant women age 18 and over, and less than 32 weeks pregnant. But they had to be enrolled in one of our participating Medicaid managed care plans within Franklin County. And so we were able to recruit 143 women to be part of this study as part of a randomized controlled trial. And in this study led by Ohio State, there was an unexposed and an exposed group with either existing services or the enhanced SMART services. And the enhanced or expanded services also included freestanding pharmacy trips and trips that could get them to either a food bank or a grocery store as well. Then parking management. So as most cities always deal with parking from multiple aspects. Is it circulatory parking while people are looking for spaces? Is it finding an open garage? And particularly during events, when a lot of people come into the downtown area. So you can see on the screen, we had 40,000 or more parking spaces in parking garages, 4,300 parking meters, and 30,000 spaces in surface lots, really to try and manage through this program. And originally at least the grant proposal, we wanted to really focus on some of these particular events. It grew beyond the events, and really turned into an everyday parking management app that was enhanced. But just a couple of, obviously, like marathons, as they go through the city, they can not only require lots of parking, but they have lots of roadway impacts. Red, White, and Boom, which is like our 4th of July festival, and brings in more than 500,000 people into downtown Columbus just for that, as well as many other, either sporting events or like the Arnold, which is a sports festival, weightlifting festival with Arnold Schwarzenegger as well. So that problem statement is really finding those parking options in our downtown and our short north area that really has been identified as challenging during these times. And so we didn't have a single source for these, these parking options or particularly even reservations at the point of development. And there was also no way of disseminating parking meter availability to somebody coming in downtown. And so we set out and developed this concept to be that one-stop shop, and also to provide what we found most important was the real-time parking information as it relates to the parking meters. And for the real-time information, we're also using the operating system to run those analytics. So we're using historical data to provide parking meter availability predictions. Couple screenshots here of our Park Columbus application. It is built on the base of a Park mobile app, but built with customization beyond that. On the left screen, you can see we have our event centers, the places that typically have those types of events. Nationwide Arena in the bottom left, for instance, has Blue Jackets hockey games. The second screen, that shows your parking meter availability. So green showing up as there's a high likelihood that there's parking availability here. The orange showing that it might be, mostly full, couple spaces left, and red is unlikely that you're finding parking at this time. And then really the other two screens showcasing how we added either on-street parking or reservations for parking and enhance those capabilities to make parking easier, especially to find the information and find the available space. Onto our connected electric autonomous vehicles project. So as we mentioned, we had 2 different deployments that we've done through this program. The first of which was the Smart Circuit. So this was a partnership of 4 major entities. The Columbus Partnership, which is it's a private entity that it leverages the largest CEOs of the city to basically give back into the community into targeted areas and targeted projects, I should say. And then Drive Ohio, which was a specialty shop within the Ohio Department of Transportation, City of Columbus, and then Ohio State University. And the first route that we deployed was in our downtown area. You can see the route there, really to serve public educational purpose, and it was for deployment learning. So we really wanted to be able to learn how to deploy, automated shuttle projects. And so the first one, we developed our RFP for a turnkey solution, and learned from that to build on it and then do another deployment and improve on it as we went through it. But we also didn't want to just deploy a shuttle in like a parking lot or a very small roadway. We wanted it to serve that purpose. So we made sure that it connected educational and cultural resources around downtown. You can see the Smart Columbus Experience Center, which is where I work or did work before COVID, and then connecting Bicentennial Park, so play fountains and a band shell, so lots of events happen there. COSI, which is Center of Science and Industry, so our Science Museum, Children's Science Museum, and the National Veterans Museum and Memorial as well, connecting all of these locations. I mentioned we did an RFP for a turnkey solution. It was a 1-year contract where it involved mobilizing and deployment for the first 2 months, provide 10 months of service, and then there was an option for 2 1-year add-ons to the contract. We didn't exercise those, but it was off on the contract. each entity was evaluated on its past performance and the proposed approach to our route and the price included. So ultimately, we selected May Mobility. You can see the picture there on the right. They used the Polaris Gem E6 vehicles, basically an elongated golf cart, to run their deployment. As a summary, we collected 278 ridership surveys, largely positive. We saw a lot of people that either had some comfort in the technology or enhanced comfort of the technology. It either improved or didn't change their impressions of the technology. So it was really good to see that people having exposure to the technology made them either remain comfortable or increase comfort level with it. We gave over 16,000 rides and drove over 19,000 miles, all in all resulting in about 59 average daily rides. The interesting takeaway we had from it was that at the National Veterans Memorial Museum, there was cheaper parking around that area, and we found that people would park there and ride the shuttle into downtown to complete that last mile, just because it was like half the price of parking in the urban district. So we actually became somewhat of a true daily use for many riders. So then walking into our Linden deployment again, coming up with Linden, showcasing how our grant program did center and focus a lot on this neighborhood and how we could enhance and improve lives there. As we moved from our first deployment into our second deployment, we really wanted to define that purpose and make sure it was solving a true community problem, right? I mentioned a lot about connecting the community to jobs and services. So we tried to focus, how could we connect the community better to community centers, opportunity centers, or food sources, other support services, and maybe even leveraging the Smart Mobility Hubs projects as well. And really trying to build that story of overcoming first and last mile challenges. And ultimately, too, is based on the deployment we wanted to put out there. We wanted to provide that link to transit, to grow reliability and trust in transit, so we could get people to transit to get them further around the city. So within that, we wanted to establish a common data exchange interface so that we could relay that to other entities on how they could ingest data and how they could evaluate data. We wanted to build upon our first procurement that we did and all those lessons learned, and put out a second one and try and set some procurement guidelines for others to follow. Really, there aren't any standardized or commonly adopted testing or evaluation guidelines to benchmark automated vehicles as they are deployed. So we wanted to build a robust test plan that could, again, be used by others. And develop a methodology for evaluating the operational safety. That certainly goes into the testing. It also goes into developing standard operating procedures as well. And finally, those lessons learned that we could, again, share. To define the route, and I obviously gave away that we deployed in Linden, but we had many meetings with stakeholders, the public, and then also key leverage stakeholders such as CODA, our transit agency, and our Department of Rec and Parks, the Department of Neighborhoods, and Celebrate One, which was agency representing pregnant women. And we met with them to determine how we could best serve the community. And we developed 14 routes that provided links to different services. And through their input, we narrowed it down to 4 and developed a request for information. And we put that RFI out on the street for vendors to respond to current capabilities of technology, but then also input on our 4 routes. And that we thought also helped us learn what would be feasible and doable from that perspective. And then we reconvened those stakeholders to go through those RFI responses and then their final input on the scoring. So as I mentioned, the scoring, we developed these ranking criteria here where each of our stakeholders had a different criterion associated with it, and just how we could better improve their daily operation or their vision with our shuttle service. And as I mentioned, the RFI and how we collected industry input, that really fed into the route navigation. So is the technology capable of doing this? But then, like CODA, we talk about that, connects to a CODA stop. So we're encouraging people to go to transit, but we're also, like, say you're getting a negative point if you're replicating a transit route, because we didn't want to replicate a transit route. We wanted to support what exists today. So the route that we selected, shown here on the screen, and it provides access to two of our smart mobility hubs. So Linden Transit Center, which is in the bottom left, and then the upper right is St. Stephen's. I mentioned that previously as that community anchor. The on-site services include, food pantry. It includes prenatal services, healthcare, daycare, as well as a GED level education center. We felt that this was a true first mile, last mile connection. So between those 2 points, and then going through Douglas Community Rec Center, which has a pool and basketball courts and after school programs. And you see Rosewind there. Rosewind Estates Community Center is listed as where our station was. But Rosewind is the largest public housing development within the city of Columbus. So it is going right through a residential neighborhood and being able to provide that access. We selected Easy Mile to provide our services with their Easy 10 vehicles. We did get 2 shuttles. Certainly they can provide level 4 autonomy with their host of sensors, radar, LiDAR, and several others. We did require that there be an operator on board at all times. The state of Ohio does allow for remote operation, but we felt that we weren't ready for that yet as a community. We wanted to have an operator on board, and also recognizing that the operator has multiple functions besides potentially moving the vehicle. Could also provide mobility assistance, general wayfinding, and programmatic information. These vehicles also had an accessible ramp, which we felt was pretty key to providing access to all. And they do operate at low speeds, generally like 12, 13 miles an hour. So how did our passenger service start? You can see there's on launch day as we were getting the service started. So how's it going? Well, we had a couple of key points here. So along our timeline, we published our RFP in January of 19, and we're able to give our notice to proceed to Easy Mile in June of 19, started our testing at the end of the year, and began those operations for passenger service on February 5th of 2020. On February 20th, we had an onboard passenger incident. The vehicle e-stopped due to just a deviation in the steering path, which is, could be seen as the vehicle reacting appropriately to some what's the word I'm looking for? From deviance of its steering path is the reason it stopped, and that seems very normal. The passenger did have a minor injury, so we paused all passenger operations so we could evaluate what happened. And while we were doing that, COVID hit. And so really at that point, we realized with the small size of the shuttles, we couldn't really accommodate passenger vehicles or passengers with social distancing requirements. We went back to the drawing board and came up with, how could we still meet some of our goals with the program without accommodating passengers? And so rather than take people to the food, we took the food to the people. At the beginning of the pandemic, the Food and Nutrition Center switched from a choice food pantry, where people went in and picked what they wanted, to a prepackaged food pantry. So this kind of made it easy on that aspect for us, is that we already have everything in the same size type of box that we could stack or we could fit into the vehicle. The food pantry provides 1 box per week per household to Franklin County residents. And so what we decided we could do is we could transport these boxes and bags, because we also needed to get some additional support to be able to accommodate this. The boxes started to come in short supply throughout the community due to food insecurities. And we provide that service 3 hours a day, 12 to 3, on Monday through Friday, utilizing both shuttles. We started with the first, but the demand for it was so high, we instituted the second shuttle. Looking at a similar map here, the food pantry service, rather than go all the way down to the Lebanon Transit Center, just goes into Rosewind. So you can see it goes through the first traffic circle and then turns around at the second traffic circle and stops at Rosewind to distribute those packages into the community. So to date, and this is through last Friday, we have distributed almost 3,000 boxes into the community, having launched on July 30th of 2020. So there's 7 or 8 months into this, almost 3,000 boxes. And we've also, through partnership with the city, been able to distribute mass packs into the community as well, that the city packages these in groups of 10, and we pick up boxes as we can to be able to also give those into the community to help protect their health and safety. And as you look at this chart, you can see that the red bar was the shuttle deliveries that we did into the Rosewind community, the blue bar being the existing food boxes that are at St. Stephen's. Throughout the thick of the pandemic, certainly an increase in demand, and you can see the shuttle share was actually growing through most of that. As we look at it on a month-to-month basis and the daily boxes that we distribute into the community, our peak was in November. We were generally continually rising. The food pantry service that we were running held strong through January. It's starting to decline a little bit, and certainly so is St. Stephen's. While you always want to see like having a strong deployment, that's also a good thing because hopefully that's indicative of the community beginning to recover from any of the health and economic impacts of the pandemic, and that some of that food insecurity and food reliance has diminished to some extent, and we're starting to come out of it. So with that is my last slide.
Wonderful. We do have a couple of questions, and thanks so much, Jeff, for sharing all that. A lot of information there, but
sure.
I'm going to give a couple of questions. Jonathan says, great high-level view of data sources. I'm going to go to his first question second. So I want to start with his second question that he sent. You mentioned the goal of a decrease for emergency vehicle response times. Is there an online hub for overall or detailed performance measures for all parts of the systems that you could share?
Yeah. So if we're talking specifically about the emergency vehicle response time, I don't think that those are all posted online. But having said that, our performance measurement plan, like we've already posted at least the plan itself and how we plan to measure it. And then with the data, we'll be publishing our final reports on that. So at least as it relates to those response times, you'll be able to see those recorded times as well. And really the goal of that largely with that emergency vehicle preemption, and we can tie it to how many preemption calls were made onto the signal in pairing with the average times that are being reported on the response.
Do you have any idea of when you guys might expect that data and getting it out there?
The whole program ends May 31st. So we will be completely done with this program. So that report should be on the website, I want to say mid-May, but worst case scenario would be by the end of May.
Wonderful. So very close. The next question is, what is one other, you went through so many detailed examples, so I don't even know if you can answer this because there were so many, but what is one other detailed example of available data of interest not referenced in the presentation?
Yeah, so if you can go to smartcolumbusos.com, so Smart Columbus and then short for operating system, we have the data sets available there. A couple things you could search for you could search Easy Miles. So we are pulling in the Easy Miles shuttle data every 2 seconds, and that's pulling in all of the data from the vehicle, like is it an autonomous mode, is it manual mode, are the doors open, ramp deployed, its GPS location, its speed. We're getting all of that information every 2 seconds. So you can find a ton of data there. Another maybe interesting side of would maybe be the kiosk data. So you could search Ike Smart City as well, and you'd be able to see how many people are using the kiosks at our 6 locations. And I guess to even point out, like, I mentioned a little bit about how one of our goals was to set some of those data standards. I think our procurement document for the Linden Leap, the second shuttle deployment, which is available on smart.columbus.gov, it really details out a table of the data that we required. That was our lesson learned from the first one, is we thought we were pretty detailed, and apparently we weren't, because we didn't get all of the data we really wanted. And so one of those goals on that second deployment was, here is exactly what we want, and here is how we want it. And so, to that point of pulling in the Easy Mile feed, and we're getting all the data we want, and we're getting it through an API that we're ingesting into the operating system. So it really, I think, at least was a strong learning lesson from us, but that turned into a success because we were able to refine.
And I'm going to go with one more question, just because I want to be cognizant of time here and then have a closeout, but real quickly, because the fact that you took your autonomous shuttle and had to make a change in that due to the COVID impacts, what's maybe another project where COVID had an impact on it?
Yeah. So, some of the projects, let's say like the connected vehicle environment, had some front end impacts of like getting some of the equipment. Some of it was coming in from China. And really, so that global shipping network took significant impacts. And so we had some front end issues there that impacted our timeline. Similar even to deploying some of the bike share that we did with the smart mobility hubs, getting that equipment into the city. Then I'd say we have probably, I'll say the more obvious ones are ridership in general. I mean, transit ridership is running like 60% what it was in the city pre-pandemic to now. And, just trying to encourage those multimodal trips or shared trips is a challenge in this time right now. I think what we're really hoping is, while maybe our data throughout the program will be impacted by COVID, we've deployed these and the sustainability of them are out there, that as travel returns and recovers, that people will have these other options, and they can make those choices of not taking a single occupancy vehicle, and they can try and make multimodal trips.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again, Jao, for your time today and providing us with such a great presentation and discussion. A lot of different programs, applications with lots of data being collected and dispersed on so many different levels. So that was quite interesting to see some of the things you guys have done. If any of you viewing still have questions, do not hesitate to go to the ITS Georgia website and contact us, as we will do our best to get an answer for you. And again, a big shout out to this month's sponsor, Cassie and the Cisco team. Thank you so much for supporting ITS Georgia. Just some last reminders. Please tune into next month, as we will be back virtually March 24th to hear about an update regarding connected vehicles here in Georgia. Please feel free to reach out to me or any board members if you would like to get more involved in ITS Georgia and one of our committees, as we have a lot of exciting things planned this year and could use all the help we can get. Keep an eye out for ITS Georgia emails and social media announcements to stay informed. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me or go on the ITS Georgia website and click Contact Us. And thank you all again for joining us today. And on a more important note, if you or anyone you know needs some assistance, please also reach out to us, as we want to make sure we are available to help our members and community any way possibly that we can. Please continue to stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you virtually the next 2 months, and hope to see you all soon in person. Thank you. Have a great day.